What is going on, everyone? Chris Vincelli here. Welcome to my YouTube channel, the YouTube channel that discusses personal development, finances, and everyday life experiences. And today, I'm going to be speaking to you guys about living in California versus Florida. The Golden State versus the Sunshine State. Two very popular states in the United States of America. Both states known for its great weather, but there are quite a few differences between California and Florida once you scratch beneath the surface. Differences that are worth talking about, particularly if you're planning on moving to one of those states or if you're looking to move from one state to the other. So stick around, I got some great content for you guys. Now, full disclosure, I've lived in both states. I currently live in Florida. However, I did live very briefly in California as well. And while I didn't live there for a very long time, I have been to California very often. First of all, it's a great vacation destination. I visited California on multiple occasions, just on vacation. On top of that, the company I used to work for was headquartered in California, so I used to fly out there pretty often for work. And of course, I live in Florida now, and I visited Florida dozens of times in the past. So I know what I'm talking about. I'm speaking from experience. Now, this video essentially stems from a previous video that I did on the differences between living in Miami and LA. You could check out that video right here, by the way. And since releasing that video, I noticed that there's a lot of interest in just learning about Florida as a whole or California as a whole. So let's dive right into it right now. And the number one difference I would say is, despite the fact that both states are known for its great weather, I would have to say that the climate is one of the biggest differences between California and Florida. California has a very varied climate. There's a lot of variety in the climate of California. For example, there's a lot of mountains in California, so certain parts of California feel very alpine, kind of like you're in the Rocky Mountains or if you're in the Alps in Europe. By the looks of it, you think that California's climate is very well suited for skiing or snowboarding or a lot of winter sports. So certain parts of California have a very alpine climate. Other parts of California, I think the parts kind of bordering Nevada and Arizona, have a desert climate. Nothing grows there. It's pretty hot. I've driven through the desert in California. I think it's the Mojave Desert, and it gets so hot over there. I think the thermometer in my car when I was driving through it was about 110 degrees. So California in certain parts, particularly the parts that border Nevada and Arizona, also have a desert climate. And then of course you have the coast. You have the coastal cities of San Diego and LA, which are known for its Mediterranean climate, a very comfortable and easy climate to live in, great weather pretty much all year round. You also got Napa Valley, which has a very Mediterranean climate as well. And then of course you got San Francisco, and the San Francisco climate is very mixed. Some parts of the San Francisco Bay Area have, again, a more Mediterranean climate. Other parts feel cooler, foggier as well. So California has a very varied climate. It really depends on what part of the state you're talking about, what part of the state you're living in. And I think that's one of the cool things about living in California is that you get the choice of what type of climate you want to enjoy. And then there's Florida. And I have to say that while California offers you variety, Florida really offers you one thing, and that is heat and humidity for most of the year. So in the winter months, regardless of where you live in the state, you're pretty much getting a pretty mild or even cool winter, probably a little cooler in the northern parts of Florida. So the Jacksonville area or the Florida Panhandle, you're gonna see temperatures mainly remain in the 60s throughout most of the winter, daytime temperatures in the 60s, which is still really comfortable and mild. Then in South Florida, you'll see temperatures hit the 70s and maybe even the low 80s in the winter. So Florida's winters, regardless of where you live in the state, tend to be pretty comfortable, a little cooler and milder. Then when you hit the summer months, you're talking about heat and humidity, regardless of where in the state you live. So I would say that Florida's climate is pretty uniform throughout most of the state. It really doesn't give you much variety as opposed to California. California offers you a lot of choice in climate that you can experience. Florida, like I said, it's heat and humidity, regardless of where you live in the state throughout most of the summer. And in the winter months, you get some pretty mild, cooler temperatures, again, regardless of where you live. And that's gonna lead to my next point, which is the geography of both states. Florida is essentially like a peninsula that is penetrating the ocean. It's surrounded by water on three sides. You got the Atlantic Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Caribbean, all surrounding Florida, which means that Florida is pretty much lined with beaches. You got beaches dotting the entire coast of Florida. Some of the best beaches in the United States are in Florida. Florida is known for its white sandy beaches and its warm water, particularly in the summer. So Florida's geography is ideal for those seeking the coast, seeking the beach, looking to do some boating in the intercoastal waterways or along the shore. Florida does have a lot of beaches, and I think that's probably the most popular aspect of Florida's geography is the beaches that line its entire coastline. But then again, once you move inland, there's not much. Florida's inland is essentially known for swamps and lakes and the Everglades. There are pretty much no mountains to speak of in Florida. There's no desert. There's no Great Plains. There's nothing. It's just a lot of swamp, a lot of lakes. You got a lot of forest, which is nice. You know, it's a very green state. But I would say that Florida's geography is pretty darn simple. It's flat throughout pretty much the entirety of the state. You got beaches lining the state, which is awesome. As a beach guy myself, I love the fact that Florida has beaches everywhere. Then in the southern tip of Florida, you got the Florida Keys, which are essentially a chain of islands that are connected by one highway to the mainland, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, I would say Florida's geography is pretty simple. It's ideal for those who want to go boating or beaching, but there's not that much else to its geography unless you like lakes and swampland. So that's pretty much it. California, on the other hand, look, California is a huge state. It's actually the third largest state by size in the United States of America, and it pretty much occupies like 3/5 of the West Coast coastline. So it is huge, and with that size comes a lot of different geography. You got mountains in Eastern California. You got the Sierra Nevada mountain range, which I mentioned is a great place for skiing. I think you even had the Olympics a few decades back in Squaw Valley. So California has mountain ranges. You also have the Central Valley, which is known for its great farmland, its plains. And then of course you got the coast, and the coast is also lined with beaches as well. And then you have deserts, like I mentioned, near Arizona and Nevada. So California's geography, much like its climate, is quite varied. You have a lot of different options to choose from if you like outdoor activities. So if you're someone who likes hiking, California's a great state for that. You got plenty of hills and mountains to choose from to go hiking on. And of course, if you like the beach, if you like surfing, California is known for that too. And if you're a little crazy and you like living in a desert, hey, listen, California's got everything. So when it comes to its geography, much like its climate, it offers you a lot. And I think that's one of the reasons why California is so popular, not just amongst Americans, but for people around the world as a vacation destination. There's just so much to do there, and a lot of that is thanks to its geography. Speaking of things to do, both states offer plenty of recreational activities to participate in. I can just start with the sports. Because of their great climates, you can do plenty of sports in both states all year round. And of course, both states also have a lot of the major pro sports leagues playing there. California has, baseball, soccer, hockey, basketball, football. I think there's like 2 football teams in LA. Yeah, 2 football teams in LA, 2 baseball teams in LA. Wow, actually, LA's got 2 teams of each major pro sports league. 2 hockey teams, 2 baseball teams, 2 football teams, and 2 basketball teams. Wow, so there's so much to choose from in LA alone when it comes to sports. Then, of course, San Francisco and the San Francisco Bay Area have major pro sports teams based out of there. Sacramento has a team in basketball, the Sacramento Kings. San Diego's got a team as well, the San Diego Padres. So there are plenty of sports activities to choose from in California. There's no shortage of pro sports teams that are based there. The same can be said for Florida. Florida has, hockey teams. There's hockey based in the Miami metro area and the Tampa area as well. And of course, you have baseball in Miami and in Tampa. You got football in both cities and in Jacksonville as well. And you got basketball. You got basketball in Miami and in Orlando. So you got plenty of sports happening in both states. And then, of course, both states are actually pretty well known for their amusement parks and their theme parks. California is the birthplace of the Disney theme parks, namely Disneyland, located in Orange County, California. But of course, Disney also has Disney World located in Orlando. And I think Orlando has become a major destination because of all the theme parks that are based there. And of course, Orlando has Universal Studios. So does California. California's Universal Studios is located, I think, in the San Fernando Valley. Is it in Burbank? Glendale? I think it's there in the valley. So there are plenty of things to do as far as theme parks and amusement parks in both states. And there are plenty of outdoor activities to do in both states as well. Florida's got the beaches, you got the boating happening here. California's got the same. You also got surfing. Florida, not known for surfing, but there are some surfing spots in and around the state. But if you want to go surfing, you better go to California, or heck, head on over to Hawaii while you're at it. They got great surfing there. But anyway, yeah, so a lot of outdoor activities to do in both states. California, like I said, has the hiking, but Florida has a lot of stuff to do in the ocean, a lot of scuba diving and a lot of snorkeling. So both states offer a lot of things to do as far as outdoor activities go. And if you like city life, look, LA is a huge tourist hub in the United States. It's home to Hollywood and the entertainment industry. So a lot of people visit LA for that. Miami, on the other hand, is also very well known across the world. It's a great tourist destination as well, known for its nightlife, its culture, and the Miami Beach, South Beach area with its Art Deco district. So, there are plenty of things to do in both states. Regardless of which state you live in, you essentially live in a state that people go to on vacations. And that's pretty cool. Okay, so we got a couple more things to cover here, but before I get into that, whether it's the first time you've seen one of my videos or if you've viewed my content before, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every single time I come out with other great and similar content. And if you haven't done so already, and if you're liking what you see, go ahead and smash the like button. It really helps me understand what type of content I should keep putting out there. And it helps with the YouTube algorithm. So please support my channel. It's a new channel, I'm growing. So go ahead and smash that like button. I'm also on Instagram. So if you want to follow me there, I'd love to see you there. Okay, so the next thing I want to cover is the economy of both states. Both states actually have really big economies. They're some of the largest in the United States and even the largest in the world. Crazy fun fact here, if California was a country, the economy of California by itself would be the 5th biggest economy in the world, which is crazy. It's bigger than the economies of the United Kingdom and France and Italy and India, and just right under the economy of Germany. So California's economy is huge. Florida's is also really big, but California's is enormous. Like I said, it'd be the 5th biggest in the world. Crazy. And it's well known for a number of industries. The tech industry is essentially centered in California, namely Silicon Valley. That's the area in the San Francisco Bay Area, kind of located near San Jose and Cupertino, California. So yeah, the tech industry is huge in California, but so is the entertainment industry. The entertainment industry being based in LA and in Hollywood. So while Northern California and the Bay Area are known for the tech industry, Southern California, namely LA, is known for the entertainment industry. And California is also known for its leadership in aerospace and in the oil and gas industry. And the financial services industry also has a very big presence in California. So California's economy is huge. If you're looking to get a job there, I'm pretty sure you're not gonna have any issues. You're gonna have a lot of variety and options when it comes to types of jobs that you can work in. Like I said, the tech industry is absolutely enormous in California. So is entertainment. And there's a bunch of other things that you can get involved with as well. Florida, on the other hand, also has a very big economy. I think Florida's economy would be the 20th largest economy in the world. So it's still a very, very big economy and one of the largest in the United States. I think it's the 4th largest in the United States. And Florida is essentially known for the hub of the travel and hospitality industry in the United States. Many of the large cruise lines are based in the Miami area. So are some of the airlines as well. And Florida is also a big hub for the financial services industry. You have a lot of banks having their regional headquarters in the Miami area. So Florida does have a very strong economy as well. Obviously, the real estate industry is also very big in Florida. So there are no shortage of jobs you can find in Florida as well. I would say both states have very large economies, very strong economies, with California being noted as the 5th largest economy in the world, which is crazy. Okay, and the 5th point I'm gonna bring up, and this is something that a lot of people have asked me about when I lived in California and when I live here in Florida, and that is the cost of living. Now, as a whole, the state of Florida is actually a pretty typical state amongst the United States. Taking a look at Florida's cost of living index, I think I saw it at like 97.9, which kind of puts it right under the average in the United States, which means it's actually a pretty cheap state to live in, generally speaking. Then I took a look at the value of the dollar, and I think $1 in the United States would be equivalent to $1.01 in Florida, which basically means that your dollar is basically worth $1, maybe even a little bit more in Florida. So overall, a pretty cheap state to live in. That doesn't mean that certain cities in Florida are cheap cities to live in. In the past, I talked about Miami being a relatively expensive city to live in, but I would say in general, Florida is a relatively cheap state to live in. I think it's, pretty typical. The rest of the United States, maybe even slightly cheaper than the rest of the United States. California, on the other hand, I think I saw the cost of living index of California being at 151 point something, which means that California is supposedly like 50% more expensive than, I guess, the average of all states. Value of $1 in California is only 88 cents. So $1 in the entirety of the United States is pretty much only worth about 88 cents in California. This pretty much means that California is an expensive state to live in. When I was doing my research, a lot of the things that made California an expensive place to live in was the cost of housing. Housing is ridiculous in places like LA and the San Francisco Bay Area. It's just so expensive to live there because of the cost of housing. Other things didn't seem to be that enormously expensive. I did notice that when living out there, things were a little bit more expensive, but the most prohibitively expensive thing was the cost of housing. So yeah, Florida, not the cheapest state in the world, but definitely a lot cheaper than California. All right, we're almost at the end here, but the sixth thing that I want to point out is the food. People have asked me, Chris, how's the food in California? Dude, how's the food in Florida? Well, I'll talk about Florida's food. Florida's food is very varied because of the different groups of people that live in Florida. Here in South Florida, a lot of cuisines from Latin America are very popular. Man, you got great Cuban cuisine down here, Argentinian cuisine, Colombian, Venezuelan food. You also have a lot of great Italian places and Middle Eastern, Mediterranean places as well. So there's a lot of variety of cuisines here in South Florida. Then the rest of the state, you have a lot of the same. You also have a lot of great seafood because, after all, Florida is surrounded by water on three sides. And you got a lot of good southern barbecue, particularly in the northern half of the state. So Florida has a big mix of cuisines. And I think that is also the case in California. California has great Mexican food. There's a huge Mexican-American population in California. And because of that, the Mexican cuisine in California is outstanding. California is also known for its great Asian cuisine. You have a lot of great Japanese, Korean, and Chinese places, and Vietnamese places all over California. So I think that state is known for its Mexican and Asian cuisine, and of course its American cuisine as well. After all, I think McDonald's started in California. So California being the birthplace of a lot of just quintessential American dishes as well. In-N-Out Burger. I think that's California's greatest export when it comes to food, although they're not exporting it enough, okay? In-N-Out, you need to come out east. I know you guys are happy out west, but you gotta expand eastwards. We want you here. In-N-Out, if you're hearing me, if you're listening to me, expand to Florida, please. And California is known for its great wines. The Napa Valley in California is like a slice of Italy. It's like a slice of Tuscany in the state of California. And the wines produced there are absolutely fantastic. So I would say both states offer great cuisine. I can't really say which state has better food. I noticed that Floridians, especially here in South Florida, do have a very refined palate and demand only the best foods. But I also noticed the same of the San Francisco Bay Area. The cuisine there was fantastic. So I think that regardless of which state you're in, you're gonna find some great cuisine. Okay, and the last point, and perhaps my favorite point, the natural disasters. People used to ask me all the time, Chris, when you were living in California, did you ever experience an earthquake? And now they ask me, dude, how's it living in a hurricane zone? What's that like? And so I'll say that both states see their fair share of natural disasters. There was the Northridge earthquake that hit the northern part of LA back in 1994. And there was also the earthquake that hit the San Francisco Bay Area in the fall of 1989. That was the one that struck during the World Series between the Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants. So California has seen its fair share of earthquakes. Florida, on the other hand, of course, has seen its fair share of hurricanes. Hurricane season lasts 6 months, pretty much from June till November, and you gotta be careful. Hurricanes do hit the tropics. They do hit, the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. And so Florida, being a peninsula that penetrates the water, is pretty darn susceptible to hurricanes. With that being said, hurricanes are something that you can predict. You can predict them days, if not even a couple weeks in advance. Whereas earthquakes just kind of strike out of nowhere. You get minimal warning. So I would say that, if I had to pick which natural disaster I want to go through, I think I'd rather survive a hurricane, to be honest. Earthquakes are just so unpredictable. But natural disasters themselves shouldn't stop you from living in any of these places. Hurricanes don't hit Florida very often. They do hit Florida, once every few years, but the state does prepare for hurricanes very, very well. And of course, earthquakes in California, those happen maybe once every decade or so. So honestly, both states see their fair share of natural disasters, yes, but they don't happen often. And usually there's a lot of things that you can do to prepare for the worst. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. And like I said earlier, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I come out with other great and similar content. And if you like this video, which I'm sure you did, it's a very informative video, go ahead and smash that like button. It really helps me understand what type of content I should keep putting out there. And it helps with the YouTube algorithm. So hit the like button. And by the way, like I said earlier, I'm also on Instagram, so I would love to see you there as well. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon.